All right, we're back with book 5 of the Iliad. The Iliad by Homer. Safe to say at this point the Battle of Troy is well underway, and now we're just getting all these little, I guess, vignettes of all the different little battles that went on in the big battle. So yeah, the fight started last chapter, and now in book 5 we're going to see how Diomedes did great deeds of valor and wounded Aphrodite and Ares himself. Oh. Diomedes is just apparently trying to carry. Here, let's see what happens. Buckle up, this is going to be a rager. Now comes the turn of Diomedes, Tydeus' son. For Pallas Athena gave him courage and boldness to make him come to the front and cover himself with glory. She kindled a flame that blazed steadily from his helmet and shield, like the star that shines brightest of all in late summer after his bath in the ocean. Such was the fire that blazed from the head and shoulders of Diomedes, when she drove him through the midst, where the fighting was thickest. There was one Dares among the Trojans, a man of substance and worth, a priest of Hephaestus. He had 2 sons, Phygeus and Idaeus, both fine soldiers. These 2 came out to meet Diomedes. They in their car, he on foot. When they came within range, Phygeus, that's a fun name, Phygeus, began by casting a spear at Diomedes. The spear passed over his left shoulder without touching him. Diomedes countered with a cast which did not miss. It struck the other full in the breast and rolled him out of the car. Then Idaeus leapt out, but he durst not bestride his brother's body. And he would never have escaped himself. But Hephaestus hid him in darkness and saved him. What sorcery is this? That his old father might not be wholly bereaved, Diomedes drove off the team and gave it in charge to his friends. The Trojans were all dismayed at the fate of these 2, one dead beside his car and one gone. Then Athena caught Ares by the hand and said, Ares, Ares, you men's bane, you bloodthirsty fort stormer, why can't we leave Trojans in a chains to fight and see which of them Father Zeus will favor? Do not let us 2 retire and keep clear of the anger of Zeus. So she led Ares away and found him a seat on the lofty banks of Scamandros. Now the Danaans drove back their enemy, and each of the captains brought down his man. First King Agamemnon. Odius, the Halizonian chief, was the first to turn, and Agamemnon drove his spear between the shoulders and out at the chest. He fell with a crash in his rattling armor. Next, Idomeneus brought down Festus, the son of Meonian, Boros from Tarni. Idomeneus pierced his right shoulder as he was mounting his car. He fell out of the car, and darkness took him. While the grooms were stripping off his armor, King Menelaus killed Strophius' son Scamandrios. A great hunter he was, a mighty hunter, for Artemis herself taught him to kill all the wild beasts which the mountain forest breeds. But no help was there for him then from Artemis Archeress, nor the long shots for which he was famous. Menelaus caught him as he fled and ran him through the back between the shoulders. The spear came out through his chest, and he fell on his face under his rattling armor. Meriones again killed Phereclos. This was the son of Tecton Harmonides, an artist who knew how to make all sorts of lovely and precious things with his own hands, for Pallas Athena loved him well. It was he that built those fine ships for Alexandros, the beginning of all the troubles, which were the ruin of himself and all the people of Troy. For he knew nothing of what God had ordained. Meriones chased him and caught him, and struck him in the right groin. Ooh. The point ran through the bladder, under the bone. Ouch. He fell groaning upon his knees, and death covered him up. Then Meges slew Pedaeus. He was a bastard son of Antenor, but the lady Theano brought him up as lovingly as her own children to please her husband. Meges struck him on the sinew behind the head, and the blade cut his tongue at the root. Oof. And went through the teeth. He fell in the dust, biting hard on the cold metal. Eurypylus, Iomion's son, killed. Oh, we're back in the frickin' phone book here. These play-by-plays is crazy. Sons killed Hypsenor, the son of Dolopian. He was a priest of Scamandros, honored among the people, as if he were himself a god. Eurypylus gave chase, and with a sweep of his sword cut off the man's arm at the shoulder as they ran. The arm fell bleeding on the ground, and dark death took his eyes. A cruel fate. So the hard business of the fight went on. As for Diomedes, you could not tell which side he belonged to, Trojan or Achaean, for he stormed all over the plain. And the dense battalions of the enemy rolled away in confusion before him. That great company would not stand. It was like some winter torrent and flood which thrusts away all dikes. No dike can hold it, no walls of the fruitful orchards, when it comes with a sudden burst swollen by the pouring rain, and beats down in ruin the noble works of strong men. When Pandaros saw Diomedes storming over the plain and rolling the battalions before him, he aimed an arrow quickly at him, and hit him on the right shoulder, on the plate of the corselet as he came rushing on. The sharp point ran right through, and the blood ran over the corselet. Then Pandaros shouted, "On, Trojans, on, my brave horsemen! I have shot the best of the Achaeans. I do not think he will last long after that shot, if Lord Apollo really did send me here from Lycia. There was a boast for you, but the shot did not bring the man down." He drew back and stood in front of his horses, and said to Sthenelus, "Wake up, old fellow, look sharp and get down from that car, and pull out this arrow from my shoulder." Sthenelus was down with one leap at his side, and he pulled the arrow right through the shoulder. The blood shot out in a spurt through the tunic. Then bold Diomedes prayed aloud to his goddess. "Hear me, O daughter of Zeus Almighty, Atritone. If thou didst ever stand by my father's side in friendship on the battlefield, now again show thy love to me, Athena. Grant me to come within spear-cast of that man, and to slay that man who shot me unawares, and now declares boasting that I shall not long see the light of the sun." Pallas Athena heard his prayer. She made his limbs nimble, the feet and hands on him, and spoke in words that winged like arrows to the mark. "Courage now, Diomedes, and fight away, for I have put your father's courage in your breast, the fearless courage of that shield-shaking master of horses. And I have taken away the mist which was upon your eyes, that you may know man from God. Then if some god comes here to try you, never fight against any god except Aphrodite. But if she comes into the field, you may wound her with your spear." With these words Athena left him, and he returned to the front of the battle. If he had been eager to fight before, now he was 3 times as wild. He was like a lion when he has leapt into the sheepfold after the woolly flocks, and the shepherd has wounded but not killed him. But this only makes the lion more furious, and the shepherd defends the sheep no more, but slinks into the hut and leaves them helpless in panic. They huddle in heaps, and the maddened beast leaps out of the fold. So Diomedes, maddened, fell upon the Trojans. Then he slew Astynous and Hyperion, one with a thrust through the breast, one with a sword stroke on the collarbone near the shoulder that shaved the shoulder clean off. These he left, and chased Abas and Polyidos, the two sons of Eurydamas, the old diviner of dreams. They never came back for the old man to read their dreams for them, but strong Diomedes killed them. Then he went after Xanthos and Thun, the two sons of Phaenops, whom their father loved well, but his old age was passed in sorrow, and he got no other son for his possessions. They were killed both and stripped, and they left mourning and lamentation for their father. They lived not to be welcomed home from the war, and their kinsmen divided the goods. Then he took the two sons of Priam Dardanides, Echemon, and Chromios in the same chariot. As a lion leaps among cattle grazing under the trees and breaks the neck of a cow or heifer, so this unwelcome visitor smashed them out of their car and stripped them of their armor. The team he gave to his men to drive away. I'm assuming the team is like the horses of the chariots. Like the team of horses pulling the chariots. That's the team that they refer to. When Aeneas saw him running riot in the field, he went searching amid the melee to see if he could find Pandaros anywhere. He found that formidable man and said to him, "Where is your bow now, Pandaros? Where are your winged arrows? Where is that fame in which you have here no rival and none in Lycia? Come now, lift up your hands to Zeus, and then have a shot at this man, who is master of the field. Look what damage he has done already, how many good men he has brought down. I wonder if he is some god who has a grievance against our people and wants a sacrifice. Heavy is the wrath of God upon men." Pandaros answered, "There speaks Aeneas, the wise counselor. Indeed, yon man is exactly like Diomedes, if I may judge by the shield and the vizard, and I can see his horses. But I am not sure he is not really a god. If he is only a man, the clever son of Tydeus does not run mad like this without a god to back him. There must be some god beside him, invisible, and he turned the shot aside, even as it hit the man. For I have tried already, and I hit the right shoulder through the corselet plate. I thought I should send him to Hades, but yet I did not bring him down. It must be some angry god. And I have no horses here, and no car for my use. Yet my father has 11 fine chariots covered up carefully somewhere in his place, new built, new finished, with a pair of horses for each champing rye and barley in the stable. How often the old warrior advised me when I was coming here to mount my car and drive my team and take the lead in battle. But I would not listen. I only wish I had. The truth is, I wanted to spare the horses. I thought they might lack fodder in all this crowd of men when they were used to plenty. So I left them behind and came as a footman, with only my bow and arrows. And they were to do no good, as it seems, for I have already shot 2 of the champions, Tydeades and Atreides, and hit them fair and drew blood from both, but it only made them more lively. Ooh. So it was bad luck when I took my bow from peg on the day when I led my men to this beautiful city to please Prince Hector. Well, when I get home again, and set my eyes on my native land and my wife and my tall house, if I don't break up these useless sticks with my own hands and chuck them into the fire, I will let a perfect stranger come in and chop off my head. Wow. Aeneas answered, No, don't say that. We shall do no good until you and I drive against the man and see what spears can do. Up with you into my car, and I'll show you what the horses of Tros are like. Tros, the grandson of Dardanos, gave his son Ganymedes to Zeus in return for a gift of divine horses, which began a famous breed. Oh. They know how to put on the pace into the battle, or out of the battle. They will carry us safe to the city, if Zeus lets Diomedes win. Here, take whip and reins, and I will get out and do the fighting, or tackle him yourself, and I will drive. Pandaros answered. You take the reins, Aeneas. The horses are yours. They will go better with a hand they know, if we have to run for it after all. They may take fright and run wild and refuse to carry us out of the battle. If they miss your voice, and then the man will leap on us and kill us both and drive off the horses himself. No, you must drive your own team, and I will face him with my spear. Okay, so team is the horses. Gotcha. So they got in and went off at a gallop. Sthenelus saw them coming and called out clearly, Diomedes, my dear old friend, here are 2 strong men hot upon you. A pair of invincibles, Pandaros, the crack bowman, you know, Lycoon's son, and Aeneas, whose father is Anchises, and his mother is Aphrodite herself. Here's the car, let us be off, and don't go storming about in front like this, or you may lose your life. Diomedes said with a frown, Don't talk of running away, for I will not listen to you. Shirking and lurking is not in my blood. I am not a coward yet. I don't care to use a car. I will stay as I am and face them. Pallas Athena forbids me to fear. As for these 2, their horses shall not save them both, if one does get away. And look here a minute, there is something else. If Athena vouchsafe to me out of the riches of her grace to kill them both, you leave our horses here and just hitch the rein over the handrail. Then be sure to make a dash for those horses of Aeneas and drive them safely away. You know that they come of that stock which Zeus all-seeing gave Tros as the price of his son Ganymedes, because they were the best of all horses under the sun. And my lord Anchises stole a spat of that breed, when he put his mares to them without asking leave of Laomedon. They brought him 6 colts in the stable. 4 of them he kept and fed at the stall. 2 he gave to Aeneas. And they can go. If we could get those 2, it would be grand. As they talked together, the others came galloping near, and Pandaros called out, You are a hardy one, you are a clever one, a worthy son of Tydeus. Sure enough, my shot did not bring you down, my sharp arrow. Now then, I will see whether my spear will have better luck. With these words, he cast his spear and hit Diomedes on the shield. Right through it the point went and struck the corselet. Then Pandaros shouted, A hit! Right through the side. And I don't think you will last long now. Victory for me. Diomedes answered, undismayed. A miss, not a hit. But I think you 2 will never give over till one of you at least shall fall, and give a surfeit of blood to the strong-shielded god of war. Then he threw. Athena guided the point upon the man's nose beside the eye. It ran through his white teeth and cut off the root of the tongue, and the blade came out under his chin. He tumbled out of the car in his rattling armor, gleaming and flashing in the sun. The horses shied. Shied. And there his life and courage vanished away. Well, that's not fair. He's got god hacks. Now Aeneas leapt out with shield and spear to save the body from the spoilers. Oh, he bestrode his friend like a strong lion, spear and shield well in front, ready to kill anyone who should face him and shouting defiance. But Diomedes lifted a large stone, such as 2 men could not lift as men are now, but he handled it easily by himself. Then, he crashed down upon the hip of Aeneas, where the thigh turns in the socket, what they call the cup. The jagged stone smashed the cup and burst both the sinews, and tore away the skin. The hero fell forward on his knees and leaned with one hand upon the ground. Then black night covered his eyes. Ugh, brutal! And that would have been the death of my lord Aeneas, but his mother Aphrodite saw what had happened to her son. She threw her white arms about him and covered him with a fold of her shining robe, to shelter him from the blows of any who might wish to kill him. Okay, so he's got some god hacks too. I mean, his mother is a god, so yeah, makes sense. But Sthenelus had not forgotten what Diomedes had told him to do. He left his own horses out of danger, hitching the reins over the handrail. Then he dashed at Aeneas's horses, and drove them away to his own people. These he sent back to the camp in charge of Dibulus, his familiar friend and the nearest to his heart. Then quickly got into his own car and galloped after Diomedes. But Diomedes was following Aphrodite, spear in hand. He knew she was a timid goddess, not one of those who lord it in men's battles, not Athena or city-sacking Enyo. At last, after a long chase, he caught her, leapt on her, and thrust, and wounded the skin of her soft hand. The spear tore through that incorruptible robe, which the Graces themselves had made for her, and pierced the flesh just above the palm of her hand. The blood ran out, that immortal blood of the gods, the ichor, which runs in those blessed veins. For they eat no bread and drink no wine, therefore they are bloodless and never die. She shrieked aloud, and dropped her son. But Phoebus Apollo picked him up and saved him in a black cloud, so that no enemy could strike him and take his life. Then Diomedes shouted to the goddess, "Away from the battle, you daughter of Zeus! Isn't it enough that you beguile weak women? But if you will visit the battlefield, I think after this, a battle will make you shiver if you hear only its echoes in the distance." She hastened away, raving in her agony. Iris took her out of the throng as swift as the wind. She was in great pain. The pretty flesh was stained. She found Ares sitting on the left of the battle, near a cloud, with spear and horses. She fell on her knees, begging and praying her brother for the loan of his horses. "Brother dear, do help me and lend me your team. I want to go home to Olympus. This hurts me too much, this wound. A mortal man did it. Tydides. And he's quite ready now to fight Father Zeus himself." Ares let her have the horses, and she climbed into the car much distressed. Iris followed, and took the reins, and touched up the horses, and they flew with a will. They soon reached the heights of Olympus, safe at home. Then Iris loosed the horses, and gave them their ambrosial fodder. But Aphrodite threw herself on her mother's lap. Dione took her daughter in her arms, and stroked her with her hand, and said, "My dear child, which of the sons of heaven has treated you like this? You poor innocent, as if you had been caught doing something naughty?" Aphrodite answered, "And where are her smiles now?" "Oh, my wound! Diomedes hit me, that bully, because I was trying to save my own son Aeneas, my darling, my darling favorite. This war of Trojans and Achaeans has become a war of Achaeans against gods." Dione said, "Make the best of it, my love. Be patient even if it hurts. Many of us Olympians have had to make the best of what men do, and we have brought much trouble upon one another. Ares made the best of it, when Otos and Ephialtes made him their prisoner. They shut him up in a brazen jar for 13 months. Indeed, that would have been the end of Ares, the greedy fighter, if their stepmother Eryboea had not brought the news to Hermes, and Hermes stole him away, when he was already in great distress from his cruel poison. Hera made the best of it when mighty Heracles shot her in the right breast with a 3-barbed arrow, and she had to bear pain intolerable. Hades the Tremendous made the best of it, when that very same man, the son of Zeus Almighty, you know, shot him in Pylos among the dead men, and the sharp arrow hurt him sorely. He went up to Olympus in his trouble, pierced with cruel pains, for the arrow had run through his shoulder and distressed him. Paeon put on a plaster of soothing simples and made it well, for Hades could not die. Oh, that hard violent man, that worker of evil, who distressed the Olympian gods with his arrows. And now you, but Athena, set the man on you. And now you, But Athena set the man on you, silly fool. He has not sense enough to know that he who fights with the immortals has not long to live. He will never come home from the war. His children will not climb on his knees and daddy him. Then let this Diomedes take care. He may be very powerful, but a stronger foe than you may meet him. One day his loving wife may waken the household with lamentations when she misses her wedded husband, the best man of the Achaean host. So much for the queenly Aegilia. So much for Diomedes, who knows so well how to manage a horse. While she spoke, she was wiping away the ichor from the wounded wrist with both her hands. The arm grew whole. The throbbing pains were assuaged. Athena and Hera were looking on, and now they began to tease Zeus Cronades with their raillery. Athena led off. Father Zeus, you will be angry if I... Father Zeus, will you be angry if I say something? I feel sure Cyprus has been tempting some Achaean woman to join the Trojans, whom she loves now so desperately. She must have been fondling one of their pretty frocks and scratched her little hand on a golden brooch. He smiled at that, the great father of gods and men, and calling Aphrodite to him, he said, My dear child, war is not your department. Leave all that to Ares and Athena, and busy yourself with marriage and love. While they were talking like this together, the bold Diomedes had leapt upon Aeneas, although he perceived that Apollo was holding his arms above the man. He did not trouble about the great god, but wanted only to kill Aeneas and strip off his armor. 3 times he leapt at the man to kill him. 3 times Apollo beat back his shield. But when he came on the 4th time like a devil, Apollo shouted at him with a loud cry. Beware, Diomedes, forbear, Diomedes. Do not try to put yourself on a level with the gods. That is too high for a man's ambition. The immortal gods are one race. Men that walk upon the earth are another. Tydiades moved back a step when he heard these words, fearing the wrath of Apollo shoot afar. And Apollo took Aeneas away from the crowd, and set him down in Pergamos within his own temple. Then Leto and Artemis healed him and made much of him in the great sanctuary. While Apollo Silverbow created a phantom like Aeneas in armor like his, and let Achaeans and Trojans batter one another upon their leathern shields and fringe-fluttering bucklers. What? Then Phoebus Apollo called out to Ares, O Ares, Ares, you men's bane, you bloodthirsty fort stormer, go in now, will you, and drag out this man from the battle, this Diomedes, who is ready to fight against Father Zeus himself. First he tackled Cyprus and wounded her wrist. Then he made a leap at me like a devil. He stepped back and took his seat on the citadel, and dreadful Ares went into the Trojan ranks, rallying them to the fight. He took the form of Acamas, the Thracian captain, and called loudly to the sons of Priam. Now, my young princes, how long will you let the Achaeans kill and kill? Will you wait till they assault the city gates? There lies a man whom we honored as high as Hector himself, Aeneas Anchises' son. Come on, let us bring our good comrade out of the turmoil. Then Sarpedon cried out in reproach. Where is your old courage, Hector? I think you said you could hold the city without a crowd of allies, alone with your brothers and the rest of your family. But I don't see any of them now. I don't notice them here. No, they are like a pack of dogs shrinking away from a lion. Oof. We have to do the fighting. We, your allies. I am one of your allies. I came from far away. Yes, Lycia is far away, beside the eddying Xanthos. There I have left my own wife and little boy. There I have left all the goods I have, which all the have-nots covet. All the same, I lead my Lycians. I am ready to fight any man, though there is nothing of mine here for Achaeans to harry and lift. And there you stand. You don't even tell your people to defend their wives. A fine haul your enemies will have to play with, like fish caught in the meshes of a net. They will soon sack that noble city of yours. It should be your care night and day to make yourself pleasant to your allies. Go down on your knees and beg them to hold their ground firmly, and then you would have no reproach. That stung Hector. He jumped out of his car and went everywhere shaking his 2 spears, rallying all to the fight. Now they turned their faces toward the enemy. The Achaeans stood firm, and battle was joined again. The chariots ran wheeling about, the horses' hooves beat up the dust, which drove in a great cloud to the brazen sky and covered the Achaeans with white. The whole place was like some great threshing floor, when the farmhands are winnowing and throwing up their shovelfuls into the wind. Golden Demeter divides corn and chaff, and the chaff is blown away into white heaps. So they fought with might and main, and Ares covered the battle with darkness to help the Trojans. He was here and there and everywhere, doing his best for the Trojans, as Apollo had told him to do when he saw that Athena was gone, for she had been helping the Danaans. Apollo himself brought Aeneas out of the sanctuary and made him well and strong again. Then Aeneas joined his friends. Very glad they were to see him alive and hearty with all his limbs. But they asked no questions. They had quite enough to do with Silverbow and bloodthirsty Ares, and Discord, who gave them no peace. The Danaans were kept hard at it by Aias big and Aias little, by Odysseus and Diomedes. But they needed no driving. Trojans might storm and Trojans might strike. They knew no fear. They stood immovable, like tops in fine weather, while all the blustering winds are asleep. Boreas and the other winds which scatter the dark clouds with their whistling blasts. There stood the Danaans, and faced the enemy immovable, and Atrides was among them with cheering words. "Show yourselves men, my friends, and keep a stout heart. Think of your honor, with all men's eyes upon you. It is a shame to be a coward. He that fights and will not run may live to see another sun. He that runs and will not fight is bound to die, and serves him right." He cast a spear quickly, and hit the front man, Diacun Pergacedes, by the side of Aeneas. The Trojans honored him equally with Priam's own sons, because he was always quick to push to the front. The spear went through his shield and ran through the belt into the belly. The man fell with a thud under his rattling armor. Then Aeneas struck down the 2 sons of Diocles, Creton, and Orsilochus, both strong men both. Their father lived in Phera, a man of wealth, and sprung for Alpheus, the river god. This river flows through the Pylian country. The god begat Orsilochus, who was king over a great people. Orsilochus begat Diocles, a stout warrior himself, and so were his twin sons. These 2, when they grew up to manhood, sailed for Ilios with a fleet to avenge the wrong of Agamemnon and Menelaus. And there they found their deaths. Well, there you have it. So one might see a couple of young lions bred in the mountain forests, which ravage the folds and carry off cattle and sheep, until they are killed at last by the hand of a man. And here the hands of Aeneas brought them low, and they lay like 2 fallen fir trees. Menelaus saw them fall. He was sorry for the lads, and strode through the press shaking his spear. Ares himself had made him angry because he wished Aeneas to kill him. But Nestor's son, Antilochus, caught sight of the king. He was anxious that nothing should happen to him, and so they might waste all their labors. And he came up just as the two were face to face, ready to begin, and stood beside him. When Aeneas saw two instead of one, he did not wait, although he was no mean warrior. The two dragged away the dead bodies and handed the poor devils over to their people, and then returned to the fight. There they killed Pylaemenes, the Paphlagonian captain. Menelaus struck him standing with a spear thrust through the collarbone. Antilochus cast a stone at his driver, Mydon Atimniades, as he was managing the horses in his chariot, and struck his elbow. He dropped the reins, and Antilochus, leaping upon him, drove his sword through the man's temple. He rolled out gasping, and tumbled half over, with head and shoulder dangling in the dust. There he stuck a long time, for the dust was deep, until the struggling horses kicked him out into the dust. Then Antilochus whipped them up, and drove them to the rear. Hector spied them across the ranks, and made for them with shouts, while a strong body of his men followed. Ares and Enya were in front, she carrying the merciless din of war, Ares wielding a monstrous spear, and showing himself now before Hector, now behind. Diomedes shuddered when he saw Ares, as a man after a long march stops helpless when he sees a furious river foaming and flowing along, and leaps back. So Diomedes leapt back, and cried out to his people, "How could we admire Hector, my friends, and call him hero and champion? There is always some god beside him to keep him safe. See, there is Ares now, in the shape of a mortal man. Keep your faces to the foe, and move to the rear. We must not think of pitched battle against gods." As he spoke, the Trojans closed up. Then Hector killed two good fighting men in one chariot, Menestheus and Anchialos. But big Aias saw them fall. He could not leave them there, so he made a stand beside them, and with his spear he struck down Amphios Selagos' son. This was a man rich in cattle and rich in corn, whose home was at Paesos. But fate had brought him to fight for Priam and his sons. Aias struck him in the lower belly through the belt. When he fell, Aias ran up to seize his arms, but he was met with a shower of spears, most of them falling on his shield. He set one foot on the body, and pulled out his own spear, but he could not strip off the body armor in that shower of spears. He was afraid he might be surrounded by such a crowd of enemies strongly armed. They pushed him away from them, strong though he was, and he retired staggering. So the turmoil of the battle went on. One fine strong man, Tlepolemus, Heracles' son, was driven by hard fate against Prince Sarpedon. There the two men stood face to face, son and grandson of Zeus Cloud-gatherer, and Tlepolemus said the first words. "Sarpedon, you are a high counselor among your own people, but why must you be skulking here? An unwarlike fellow like you? They lie who say you are a son of Zeus, for you are far behind those who were sons of Zeus in former times. How different was the great Heracles, my father, all-daring, Lionheart. He came to this place about Laomedon's horses, with only 6 ships and a few men, and sacked the city of Ilios and made her streets a desert. But you are a coward heart, and your people are dwindling away. I don't think you will be much help to the Trojans after your journey from Lycia, even if you are very strong. But you shall be vanquished by me and go to the gates of Hades." Sarpedon answered, Tlepolemus, that great man, destroyed Ilios because of the folly of Laomedon, who mocked him after honest service, and refused to give the horses which he had traveled so far to earn. As for you, I declare death and destruction shall be yours in this place. You shall be vanquished by my spear. You shall give glory to me, and your soul to Hades. As he spoke, Tlepolemus lifted his ashen spear, and both let fly at the same moment. Sarpedon struck his man in the neck. The cruel point ran right through, and dark night covered his eyes. The other spear eagerly pierced the left thigh of Sarpedon, grazing the bone. But his father still kept his life safe. Sarpedon was carried out of the battle by his friends. The spear dragging along gave him great pain, but no one noticed it or thought of drawing it out to let him stand on his feet. They were in great haste, and had too much to do in looking after him. On the other side, Tlepolemus was carried away by the Achaeans. Odysseus was furious to see this, though he was a patient man. He was in two minds, whether he should go on in pursuit of Sarpedon, or kill more Lycians instead. But it was not ordained that Odysseus should slay the son of Zeus Thunderer. And Athena turned his mind to the Lycian crowd. There he killed Coranos, Alastor, Chromios, Alcandros, Helios, Neumann, Pritinus, and more he would have killed, but Hector saw him, and hastened to the spot, bringing terror with him. Sarpedon was glad indeed when he came near, and called out piteously, "Priamedes, my friend, don't let them get hold of me. Help me, and then let me die in your city, since it seems I was never to return to my native land, or to make my wife happy and my little boy." But Hector passed by without a word. He was mad to drive the enemy back, and to kill many. So Sarpedon was carried on and laid under a noble oak tree, and there his friend Pelagon pushed out the spear from his thigh. Sarpedon fainted dead away. But he came to again, as the north wind breathed upon him and brought life back into his fainting spirit. The Argives before Ares and Hector neither turned about, nor could they hold their ground, but they moved backwards, facing the foe, when they found Ares to be with their enemies. And who was first slain, and who last, by Hector and brazen Ares? Teuthras, and then Orestes, Aetolian Trecos, and Oinomaus, Helenos Oinopedes, and Oresbius in his flashing kilt, who used to live in Hyle, near the Caphetian lake, husbanding his wealth, near neighbor to the other Boeotians in their land of plenty. But now Hera saw the Argives getting the worst of the battle, and she called out to Athena in plain words, "Bless us all, Atritone. Aren't you the daughter of all-triumphant Zeus? And is our word to go for nothing? We promised Menelaus that he should destroy Ilios, and we are going to let Ares ruin everything in this mad way? Let us see if our help can mend matters." Athena was willing enough. Then Hera ran about harnessing the horses and putting on their golden frontlets. Hera herself, the queen of heaven, daughter of mighty Kronos. Hebe fitted the wheels to the car, brazen wheels with 8 spokes, at each end of an iron axle tree. Each had a felloe of gold incorruptible, with a brazen tire fitted all round. Wonderful things! Each had a nave of silver, turning about the end of the axle tree. The body was of gold and silver bands braided tightly, and there was a handrail curving round on each side. The pole in front was of silver, On the end of this, Hebe fastened the golden yoke and hung the golden neck straps. Lastly, Hera led the horses under the yoke, hot for the battle. Then Athena slipped off her soft linen robe, which she had made and embroidered with her own hands. It fell on her father's floor, and she put on the tunic of Zeus, Cloud-gatherer, and arrayed herself for the weeping work of war. Over her shoulders she cast the tasseled goatskin cape, an awful thing, for panic is wreathed about it. Discord is there, valor is there, blood-curdling shock is there, and there is the Gorgon's head, that awful prodigy, awful and horrible, the sign and wonder of Zeus Almighty. Upon her head she put a helmet with 2 horns and 4 bosses, all of gold and decorated with the champions of 100 cities. She set her foot in the fiery car, grasping the spear, so heavy, huge, and strong, with which when she is angry, she vanquishes battalions of fighting men, a true daughter of her mighty sire. Hera quickly touched up the horses. The celestial gates opened of themselves, groaning upon their hinges. Those gates which the seasons use to guard, for they have a charge of Olympus and high heaven, to close or unclose the solid cloud. There through the gates they drove the obedient horses. They found Cronion sitting alone upon the topmost peak of Olympus. Then Hera drew up and said to him, "Father Zeus, have you nothing to say to these violent doings of Ares? What a mort of men he's been killing, wiping out the whole Achaean nation, slap dash, most improper. I declare, Cyprus and Apollo Silverbow just enjoying themselves, quite at their ease, after setting on this idiot who won't keep the rules. Father Zeus, will you be angry with me if I beat him well and chase him out of the field?" Zeus Cloud-gatherer answered, "Go along, do. Send Athena on the hunt. She knows how to make him smart." Hera lost no time, but whipped up the horses, and away they flew with a will between earth and the starry sky. One leap of those whinnying thoroughbreds takes them as far as a watcher on the mountains can see into the dim distance over the waves. On the plain of Troy, where the 2 rivers Simios and Scamandros join their streams, Hera pulled up, and loosed the horses, and left them unseen in a thick cloud. Simios made a crop of ambrosia grow up for them to graze upon. Then the 2 goddesses scuttled along, like a pair of pigeons, to the rescue of their friends, the Argives. They found Diomedes in the midst of a throng of the best fighting men, who pressed close about him, furious as roaring lions or wild boars in all their strength. There Hera stood still, and taking the shape of Stentor, that great heart with a trumpet voice, who could shout as loud as any 50 men, she cried out, "Shame on you, Argives, you are a disgrace to your good looks. Handsome is that handsome does. When Achilles showed himself in the field, not a Trojan would come outside the gates. They were too much afraid of that man's mighty spear. And now they have left Troy, far behind, and here they assault you beside your own ships." So she kindled a fiery temper in each one. But Athena leapt to the place where Diomedes was among the chariots, cooling the wound of the arrow. He was holding up the broad strap of his shield, and wiping away the blood and sweat from his weary arm, for he was in great distress. The goddess took hold of his horse's yoke and said, "Ah, you are not much like your father, Tydeus. He was a small man, but a fighter. I told him myself not to fight and not to show off, that time when he was sent alone into Thebes to parley with the Cadmeans. I told him to feast away and sit quiet, but he had a spirit, then and always, and he challenged the young men and beat them all. But you, I stand by you and take care of you, and bid you to fight with all my heart. But perhaps you are tired out with your impetuous assaults. Or can it be you are afraid? Then you are no son of Tydeus Oenides." Ooh. Diomedes answered, I know you, divine daughter of Zeus Almighty, so I will tell you the truth with all my heart. I am not afraid. I shrink from nothing. But I still remember your commands. I was not to fight with any of the blessed gods at all except Aphrodite. But if she came into the battle, I was to give her a wound. That is why I now retreat. And why I have gathered all these men here. For I know Ares, master of the battlefield. Athena said, Diomedes, you are a man after my own heart. Don't be afraid of Ares or any other immortal. You shall see. I will be with you. Drive straight for Ares. Hit him hard. Don't bow down to Ares, that mad, furious creature, that graven image of wickedness. Mr. Facing Always. Yesterday he stood up in front of Hera and me and vowed he would fight the Trojans and help the Argives. And now he is on the Trojan side and forgets all about that. So saying, she pulled back Stelinos and pushed him out of the car. Out he jumped in a jiffy, and she got in beside Diomedes in great excitement. How the axle tree groaned under the weight, for it carried an awful goddess and a mighty man. Athena grasped whip and reins. And away went the horses, straight for Ares. At that moment, he was stripping the armor from Periphas, covered with blood. Periphas, Ochesius' son, a huge man, the first champion of the Aetolians. But Athena put on the hiding cap of Hades, for she did not want Ares to see her. How convenient. But Ares did see Diomedes, and as soon as he saw him, he left the dead man lying where he fell and went straight for Diomedes. He came up on the offside and let fly with his spear over yoke and reins, but Athena caught it as it flew past, and sent it harmless over the car. Diomedes followed up with a thrust at Ares, and Athena drove the spear straight into his belly where the kilt was girded. The point ran in and tore the flesh, and Diomedes pulled the spear back. Then Ares roared like a trumpet, as loud as 9,000 men. As loud as 9,000 men could shout. Aye, 10,000 men in the turmoil of battle. Trojans and Achaeans alike trembled to hear the roar of the insatiate god of war. What was this Diomedes now beheld? Sometimes, after sultry heat, a furious whirlwind arises, and you may see a great black mass blowing up from the clouds. That is what Diomedes beheld now. And it was Ares, blowing up through the clouds into high heaven. Instantly, he was in Olympus, where the gods do dwell. Down he sat by the side of Zeus in a miserable state, and showed him the immortal blood running from his wound, and said in a dismal tone without mincing words, Father Zeus, have you nothing to say to these violent doings? We gods have to put up with the most terrible things from one another, if we do a good turn to a man. And we're all against you, for you begat that crazy girl. Curse her, who has always some mischief in hand. All the rest of our family obey you. We submit every one of us. But that girl, you don't care what she says or what she does. Indeed, you set her on, for she is your own child. Confound her. Now see what she has done. Put up this young bully Diomedes to run amok against the immortal gods. First he wounds Cyprus on the wrist, and then he is on me like a devil. But I got away, thanks to my quick heels. I don't know how long I might have been there most uncomfortable among the damned corpses, or if I lived, I should be a cripple from those spear prods. Zeus Cloud-gatherer frowned at him and said, Don't sit there whimpering, you facing always. I won't have it. I hate you more than any other god alive. All you care for is discord and battle and fighting. You are just like your mother, with that stubborn, insufferable temper. It's all I can do to control her without using my hands. It is some plan of hers, I am sure, which brought you into all this. However, I will not let you suffer any longer, for you are my son, after all. But if any other god had begotten such a nuisance, you should have been down below the heavenly host long ago. Then he sent for Paean, the healer. Paean put on a plaster of soothing simples and made him well, for he was not mortal. The wound healed over at once, just as you might drop fig juice into a bowl of milk and it curdles as you stir. Hebe bathed him and dressed him up smart, and he took his seat beside Zeus Cronion quite happy and cheerful. Soon Hera and Athena returned home. Hera, the friend of Argos, and Athena, and ever-present help in the time of trouble, as soon as they had put an end to the murderous exploits of Ares, the enemy of mankind. Well, what is going on in this battle? Can't tell whose god's on what side, and they're all just they're all it's chaos. It really is chaos. And the gods and their mischief making is not helping. But hey, that's the story. And I guess we'll continue this ongoing battle in the next chapter, chapter 6, book 6, how Paris was brought back into the battle and how Hector parted from Andromache. What does all that mean? We'll find out next time. We'll see you then.